Hello, everyone. My name is Mark Kageyama, and I'd like to welcome everyone here to Be Your Own Hero. I'm a stage 4 prostate, bone, and lung cancer patient slash survivor. Been dealing with cancer since late 2020, early 2021, doing very well. And there's just so much to be thankful for. There really is. And I'm thankful every single day that I'm able to open my eyes and experience a new day because each day is such a precious gift. And hopefully you're looking at life that way because life is a privilege and an honor. And if we accept that, we're able to appreciate things more and, able to help more people along the way. I am back with a returning guest. His name is Guy Nakoa, and he's from the beautiful island of Maui. And we've got some great things. In fact, we're talking so much before this interview started that I said, "Hey, man, let's get recording because man, this is some great stuff." So, what I'd like to do is reintroduce my special guest, Guy Nakoa. And Guy, please reintroduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are, and then we've got some great things to discuss.
Hello, everybody. First of all, I'm humbled. I'm humbled to be on this second episode with Mark. Obviously, we're sharing some very important, messages and information, and I'm honored to really be here. I'm from Maui, so I'm born and raised from Maui in Hawaii. And the funny thing about it before, when I first heard this said to me, it was like I was kind of freaked out because while I was working in Alaska in 2000, a lot of people knew that a bunch of us from Hawaii came up there. So everybody would come up to us and they were like, "Hey, you guys from Hawaii?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm from Hawaii." Like, "Yeah, what's up?" But I had a friend who was from the island of Molokai. Okay, so there's Molokai, Kauai, Oahu, the Big Island, Lanai, and I was from Maui. So here's my friend. He was like, "I'm not from Hawaii. I'm from Molokai." I'm like, "How retarded is that?" Right? And I'm thinking to myself, is he something's wrong with him? But when I started to really think about it, I'm not from Hawaii. I am from Maui. Hawaii is a group of islands, but I am from the island of Maui. So I'm proud to say that, you know what I mean? Because it represents where I'm from, and every island is different in their own way. And so I'm proud when I say I'm actually from Maui, Hawaii. So it carries a significance to me. I mean, even being on this, you know, video with Mark, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my parents. And, I'm so thankful of being able to be appreciative and wake up every morning, like Mark said, and just being grateful, just operating from a place of gratitude because it is a privilege to be able to wake up in the morning and open my eyes. And I'm like, I'm thankful. Yes, I get another day to make a difference in people's lives. And, it's truly an honor for me to be able to share, information with Mark today. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Guy. I spent a lot of time on the islands back right after college. In fact, I stayed on Oahu for almost 3 months right after college, and I thought I was going to live there. Uh, but once if you're from the mainland and you're on the island, yeah, I got a case of island fever. And what island fever is you feel kind of claustrophobic because one day I really realized you know what things were all about when I went in the car driving. I went around the island in less than a half a day. And I thought, that's it? Yeah, I thought, where's the rest of this thing? And that's when I realized that that's just not for me. But, it's a different thing. I know a lot of people who were born and raised on the islands, and it becomes a part of you, and it's home. And just like, for instance, myself, I was born and raised in California. It will always be home to me. Even though I live in Texas now, uh, that's, where you were born and where you spent most of your time. It should be appreciated. And one thing about Southern California is there's some things that I don't miss, like the traffic and the high gas prices and on and on and on. But I'm just thankful. No matter where I am, I am so thankful that I'm alive and that I've been able to battle through cancer and come out the other end and associate with great people and meet so many new people and such as you, Guy, and it's been such an honor and a pleasure. But let's get into a great conversation here. So we have some fascinating topics to discuss. I think let's talk about your sister and her importance in your cancer journey, and also talk about, other people's cancer journeys, how important it is to surround yourself with the right people.
That's a great question. For me, when I had to go to the island of Oahu if I have my surgery, I had to actually come over there with a caregiver. So I have a small circle of people that I trust in my life. And it all boiled down to my brother or my sister, like, okay, who's the best candidate for me that I'm going to take with me that's going to be able to be supportive of me and stand next to me while I go through this journey. And when I chose, when I wanted to take my brother's very introverted. So I'm looking at that, and I looked at it after I went through this whole journey when I was there. I don't think my experience being there with him would have been as impactful as it was when I took my sister. So I made the right choice when I did that because I've always looked up to my sisters when I was growing up. Even though I come in from a family of 11, I was always closest to my three sisters growing up. So two older sisters above me, and then my youngest sister at the end. But my family's been greatly impacted by cancer. So when I talk about cancer and being, you know, how important that is, I'm actually representing my parents that's no longer here, as well as, me trying to help everybody else that's, I'm trying to make an impact on. But getting back to my sister is this amazing personality. She was like this glow of light, a positive person. So I knew even though I was negative, because I was dealing with a lot of mental things that I was going through, trying to accept what was about to happen, I knew on the backside of it, my sister was going to make everything fine, and she's very, nurturing. She's very giving. She's great at listening, and she's a hula dancer. So she would basically break down all these walls with people when it came to things like that because that's who she is. She's just naturally gifted in that way. So she was very supportive, and your caregiver has to understand that. Like this is this is not only my journey. My caregiver is locking arms with me and making that as just as significant as being supportive of me. she needed to be supportive of herself too. And that really opened a lot of doors for her after that when we kind of went through all this thing.
So talk about why you went from Maui to Oahu to deal with your cancer, and how you found what you found, because I think that's really important for people listening out there, as another alternative.
Well, Maui, and not to say, talk down on Maui, but we don't have the better things that we need as cancer patients to get what we need. I mean, it's scary to have all the surgeries and everything done here. There's been a lot of people that passed away. I don't know if it was just the people that was doing it they wasn't smart enough to do it. I'm not gonna judge that. It's just everybody went to Oahu because that's like the place to be. They have all the state-of-the-art equipment. They have, some of the best facilities and hotels, not hotels, but hospitals there is to give you the adequate support you needed. So um, I felt good going over there, knowing that, and I was very comfortable with my surgeon that wanted to do it. His name was Dr. Token. So he specialized in breast removal and cancer. So it wasn't like I'm going to go over there and see a dentist to have my surgery done. No, this guy was specialized in what he was doing. So I was good in that regards. But my sister just made sure that everything that we needed to get that squared away was on point.
So where exactly did you go and how did you find them?
We were at Poly Memorial Hospital, so that's kind of down in Kapiolani. So it's a very old hospital, but um, the staff and everything there was great. I mean, it was the first time that I've kind of been to the hospital there, but that's kind of where we did it. Hope Lodge was maybe a half an hour away from where Palimomi was, because Hope Lodge was in downtown Honolulu, so it's kind of close to uh, where the state capitol is and where Queens Memorial Hospital is, and so it was kind of like maybe a half an hour away.
So what is Hope Lodge?
Hope Lodge is like my interpretation of it at the time was like a Ronald McDonald's house. And I never been to a Ronald McDonald's house, and I've heard stories about it, but just to experience that at being at Hope Lodge, they are backed by the American Cancer Association. So that place was like heaven to me. It was a place of peace and a place of zero stress. I didn't really think about anything else. There was so much space there. And you didn't feel like you was all just, all kind of hunkered down. There was a lot of moving space. Uh, there was books and stuff like that. You could read up about cancer and cancer stories and stuff like that. But just the whole freedom of being there and then being able to, vala'au, right? So vala'au means, kind of talking to each other. That's kind of what really did it for me. It was just that unity of all the caregivers and all the cancer patients kind of coming and sharing this story where they finally could sit in a place where they could be heard, and feel um, normal, even if that was for a little while. So yeah, that was huge for me.
So how important is it when you're diagnosed, to be able to interact with other cancer patients. What are your thoughts on that?
How important that is? That's very important. I mean, you know, I was in a denial when I went there. I didn't want to talk to anybody. No, I just wanted to feel sorry for myself. And that's just me. I mean, everybody's different, right? But that's kind of how I looked at it. I kind of just at that time I was still trying to deal with the acceptance of I have breast cancer. Like since 2017. Now, are you kidding me? No, only now in 2024, I'm finally going to go like, okay, I got breast cancer. I got it. I understand. I had to go through all that to really accept it because when I found my lump in 2000, I've spent pretty much 24 years of my life running from it. I didn't want to deal with it, right? Only to understand now that I want what I understand today is now instead of running from it, I'm turning around and I'm running to it because I realize it's a blessing that I've gotten my cancer. And not to say I'm not worried or concerned about, you know, the inevitable, but the inevitable is there. So if you already know the inevitable is there, and I'm going to share one funny story with you. It's not funny, but it's funny. Okay. So I come upstairs and there's an older gentleman that's sitting on the table. So he's far away, right? So you already know he's by himself. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. So I come walking up to him like, hey, young man, how are you doing? Good morning. What's happening? How you doing? So he kind of talks to me a little bit and, you know, sharing, what was going on with him. And I told him like, again, like, what do you do? Right. And then he was like, I'm a war vet. I served in Vietnam 3 tours. And on my third tour, I got hurt from a bomb explosion, and I could no longer serve. So they ended up sending him to California to recover. And in that time when he was there, recovering, the RN, the nurse that was taking care of him, 3 days later, they ended up getting married. She became his wife.
Three
So
days?
3 days later, yeah, I know, like strong like a boat. Like I'm,
Wow.
yeah. So he's probably in his early 70s, maybe lit, you know. But I can see him. He's just sad. So I'm like, you know, what's happening? My wife's right now in surgery. She's having a double breast removal. She's got cancer, and he doesn't know how he's going to handle that because the first 40 years of his life, since he came home, she was taking care of him. So now he is on the flip side of it, dealing with what's going on, and he's going to have to take care of her. Right. And I was like, wow. I mean, that's got to be mind boggling. So I'm just sitting there looking at him and he's weeping, telling his story. Right. And I just told him, I goes, sir, I'm going to tell you something. And I don't want you to take it the wrong way, but I'm going to tell you. I goes, your wife's going to die, sir. Your wife's going to die. Okay. And there's no way around it. But the good thing is she's alive right now. Right. And all you have to do is just take care of her until that time comes. Don't worry about, oh, she's going to die. She's going to eventually die. But what you can do is love her and support her to get her to where you guys getting to because she was there for you. This is your turn, sir. This is your turn. He just sits there, he's looking down, and then he just like starts laughing, right? It's just boom, he comes out of it, he starts laughing. And then he looks at me and he goes, thank you so much for saying that to me, because it meant the world to him because he was just thinking about the inevitable when you should be staying present in where you are. and love her like she never been loved before, because now this is time, this is your time, right? You paying it back, you giving it back to her. And it just made him change his point of view after I spoke with him. And you could see him, he was sitting upright, his head was back, he felt all confident and everything like that. And I just said, if I was in your shoes, I would wish somebody would come up to me and tell me that, because it kind of helped him to reground himself. So, no, anyway.
That's what it takes sometimes. It takes somebody who is willing to put themselves out there and take a hard stance like you just did. I mean, somebody did the same, not in a different way with me, as far as changing my diet. And that made all, it was a good friend of mine. That made all the difference in the world for me. Uh, so what it takes is someone who really cares and who's willing to take a chance on that person. And wow, that's incredible story. Thank you for sharing that. Um, because that is what is so important for cancer patients, is to sometimes get woken up like he did, or patients or friends or relatives of the cancer patient. Sometimes it just takes a jarring the reality of what it really is. So that is awesome. What other things would you say that you benefited from Hope Lodge?
It gave me the time I needed to really evaluate what was happening. Just kind of being around these people kind of gave me a sense of this is where I want to spend the rest of my time. Like being able to be that voice, because we knew when we was leaving that a lot of them might not make it out of there. So we knew that the memories that we was creating right now it's gonna live with us when we move forward, and sharing that message on how important that is for every cancer patient that's going through it. I mean, I'm following a lot of people right now on TikTok that's kind of going through some things. I mean, I've seen a lady yesterday had uh, a stage 4 triple negative breast cancer. I was like, triple negative breast cancer. Like, I only got one. Like, I just have breast cancer. I wouldn't be able to handle that. My doctor said, you got a stage 4 triple negative breast cancer. Like, I'm, it's hard for me to deal with that. But for me, what really did it was I just wanted to be normal. I just wanted to fit in. I just wanted my life to be make sense. But once I knew the news that what had happened to me, I knew that wasn't me anymore. I wasn't normal. I had something that was different. And a lot of people that I knew in my life treated me different. And even though I've known these people all of my life, you know what I mean? Oh, I got COVID. And here's an interesting story. I got this cough that every time I get it, probably from the side effects of the medication that I take. And one of my friends tells me, you need to stop coughing because you're going to get me sick. And I'm like, no, you're not going to get sick from me coughing. You might get cancer, you know what I mean? But you're not going to get sick from me coughing. Don't worry about that. But because of COVID and all that, you know, once you cough, everybody's like, oh, like he might have COVID. No, I tell them, don't worry. It's not COVID, it's cancer. So what do you want to have, COVID or cancer? I mean, you choose. But, and I kind of joke around, with it. But it's not it's not for the faint of heart. Like, kind of being as positive as I can be, because I just had people last week telling me like, how are you so positive knowing you got cancer? And I was just like, I just figured it out. You know what I mean? It's like my cancer is my cancer, okay? But what I'm learning and what I'm experiencing is for me to help you to deal with your cancer better. And that brings me joy knowing that. I'm not going to have all rainbow and sunshines every day, just like in Hawaii. That's what makes it so boring, right? You look outside, there's ocean everywhere, right? You're stuck on a rock in the middle of the sea, right? You drive around the island, like you were saying earlier, like, that's it. That's it. You're stuck here, right? And it kind of goes back to the myth of the story on how Maui kind of like discovered the islands. It was pulling the islands out from the ocean, and somebody looked back, right? So once they looked back, it broke that chain. And I'm like, why did he look back? You know what I mean? Like, if we could have just been one giant mass of Hawaiian islands, but and that's just a myth of a story like that. But it's kind of funny when like you think about it. Why did the guy look back? So uh, I'm truly blessed, really, every day, when I get to kind of be on something like this, because the message makes me feel like it's worth what I'm doing and investing my time in it. And at the end of the day, I can lay my head down knowing I'm making an impact. So, yes.
So let me ask you this. What why did you get into cancer advocacy and talk a little bit about what you're doing with that before we close out this interview? Why did
Well,
you become a cancer advocate and which groups are you working with?
that's a great question. It spins off of what I was learning from Hope Lodge, kind of that whole experience that at the time I just thought, that's what I wanted to do. And then, you know, motivation gets you started, but discipline keeps you engaged. So when I came home after a while, I had to deal with reality of life. And, I kind of stepped away from that. But I started to go online and I started to find people. And a lady that was from Male Breast Cancer Global Alliance, the CEO of the company, she emailed me and asked me if I would be willing to share my story. So I think I sent you that link to my story, and that story coming straight off of me coming home from Hope Lodge. Um, the American Hope Lodge actually reached out to me again, and they wanted me to, share my story on the American Cancer Society's winter letter that they had last year. So my story that now I was able to update was featured there, but once I started to find out these groups that was happening with, Male Breast Cancer Global Alliance, I ended up finding a guy that was like me. He had the same thing. He was an advocate. He was very connected to the health field and working with patients. So he knew, what was going on. So I kind of followed him, and then I followed him and found Man Up to Cancer. So Man Up to Cancer is just about a group of men supporting each other, like, how I talk about stuff. So I followed Danny from, male breast cancer to Man Up to Cancer. And on a Zoom call we did in February, he ended up telling us that he's going to be probably one of the 526 men that has breast cancer is not going to make it. So he's telling us that night that I'm not going to make it this year. And I was like looking at that, like, what, 526? Am I one of those guys? But he passed away 2 weeks ago. And it hit me so hard, because he was like me, we had a lot in common. And it just made me want to do it more because he did it the right way. the way I looked at it, like he did it the right way. He was very big at sharing the information, and it was the lasting impact that he's going to have since his passing that's never going to be forgotten. So, in the Men Up to Cancer group, there's a link inside our group itself that has a place called Remembrance. So all the fallen cancer patients that were in the group itself, which was now there 6 years later, we have about 400 men died. This place is a place where you're going to be remembered. So I'm like, yes, I'm in the Hall of Fame. No, I didn't say that, but Danny is there, and he's going to be remembered there. So um, it makes it more important for me to do it because of the fact that now I don't need to worry about that aspect of what's happening because of the impact I'm trying to do today. So that's important.
So I have one last question for you before we wrap up. Actually, it's probably a two-part question. Looking back on your cancer journey, how would you say that it's affected your life? Has it affected your life in a positive way, in a negative way? And where do you move on from here?
Wow. That is like a multi-level question there. Okay, so well, the first thing was how did it impact my life? Okay, so I'm just taking it from 2017. Okay, so since 2017, when I was diagnosed, even though I found the lump in 2000, since 2017, my life has changed a great deal. Uh, there were things that I never thought that could happen in my life. I I've traveled a lot. I met my soulmate along the way. I've experienced a lot, and my grandchildren is is in my life when they wasn't around in 2017. My grandson was first born at the end of 2017. So it just kind of makes it worthwhile for me that I was able to think when I first got it, it was like the end of the road for me. But I just kept on doing it because the people that really supported me and I loved, it made me drive harder to kind of really appreciate things. And now looking back at it, like I'm glad I stayed the course. I mean, and I thank myself one day. I thank myself for not giving up when my doctor said you're only going to live for 5 years. Like, no, nobody wants to hear that kind of news like that. But for me, I just had a lot of things in place to catapult me over that hill. So it came from you know, a person that I really loved, and I actually lost. We're not as close as we used to be. Life, kind of came that way. But I think by her stepping back in my life really made me take a look at my life and really got myself where, I'm more free of my burdens that I was carrying around for a long time. And um, I got help, where now I am, not motivated by guilt.
So, would you say that cancer for your life has been a curse or a blessing?
Before 2017 and kind of moving forward a little bit, I thought it was a burden. I thought, yeah, man, it is a curse. But when I was able to really, simplify my life and really look at the importance of my life, no, it's been a blessing for me. So, and it's a blessing for me because I know every day when I talk about things, it's a blessing for those people out there that just like me, that's thinking they're all alone. And my message to them is you're not alone. You're the movie star of your movie. You get to direct, you get to bring in your best supporting cast, you get to do all those things. You're the hero of your own story. And this is pretty much what you're doing, and you're talking to people and sharing that, you get to write the script and how you gonna end it. And you can either, end it as a superhero or you can end it as a villain, but you get to do that. And for me, early on was like, oh yeah, I was a villain to my story, but now, no, I'm saved by the amazing grace of my beliefs and faith.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Guy, thank you for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge and your whole journey. It's just been awesome and continued success with what you're doing and help as many people as possible because if we band together and are able to help as many people along the way as we possibly can, uh, that's how we can change the world. That's how we can make things better for the people that come behind us who do get cancer because it's a very, very complex situation. So I really appreciate you, and I really, really enjoyed sharing this time with you. So thank you. And I'd like to thank everyone out there as well. And please uh, make a comment in the comments section, like the video, and subscribe if you will, so that the channel can grow and we can get the message out to more people because this channel is all about hope and inspiration. Uh, just like what changed for Guy, all his attitude changed along the way and he received hope and inspiration. We hope the same for you as well. And make the most out of your precious life because it is precious, and make the most out of each and every day, each and every minute, and each and every second. And have a fantastic week. And we will see you next week on To Be Your Own Hero. Take care and be blessed. Thank you. Bye bye.